Hello pool players, Ron here. Welcome once again to the Pool Student channel and thank you very much for watching, everyone. Today I want to continue with our deep dive into our pool stroke fundamentals. So let's get into it right now. Okay, today I want to talk about these two fundamentals within our pool stroke, and that is maintaining a nice solid straight wrist, as well as our pendulum, our elbow, and our alignment, and how we maintain that alignment throughout the shot. But now let me go back and recap on that last video and cover the two things that I discovered when I was doing the edit on that video. And that is, I began first of all by trying to maintain a nice, steady, straight delivery of the cue. Because I was having a tendency to, when I would shoot like English, like let's say top right in this case, and I would move the cue as I come through the cue ball. And it was kind of like I was trying to help the shot, and we don't want to do that. So what I noticed though, when I was taking these long shots, in fact I'm going to include that video, that latest video, in the link at the end of this one, so you guys can look at it if you haven't seen it. And what I was doing, because it was a long shot, I was all tensed up, and I was gripping my cue too much during the follow through. So what I was doing, I had an open bridge, and as I came through, I noticed it when I did the edit that I was coming through and I was lifting the cue. I was like that. That's exaggerated, but I was lifting it just slightly off the crook of my thumb. I picked up on it right away and I realized, and I know better, we must maintain a loose, super loose grip, just enough to control the cue. We do not want to manipulate the cue by grabbing it too tightly, and that's what I was doing there. Okay, the other thing that I picked up on, and you will see in that video, is that my arm was like chicken winging. And what that means is that it's like this. We move our arm as we're stroking through the ball, like this. Well, when we do that, it moves the cue. You can see that. That's exaggerated, but that's what it does. If you go inside, like this, the cue goes out, okay? Got to maintain a nice straight alignment with our lever. But here's the thing I want to cover today, and I'm going to show you some video on that, and that is the wrist position and maintaining a straight wrist position throughout the stroke. So now let's look at that. Okay, now I'm going to shoot a couple of shots here, and this is about me keeping a real subtle wrist position. I don't want to move my wrist. But what I'm going to do here is I've got a paper reinforcement, and that's just about 6-7 inches past the cue ball. But I'm going to mark where the cue ball is. I already got a little spot right there. This right now, it's a little off, so I want to make sure it's straight in. So I'm going to move this one over just a little bit. That's better. I want to also make sure that my object ball, I do have a little bit of a mark there, but I'm going to make sure that I'm more accurate with it. So I'm going to mark that. Okay, so I've got now 3 spots here that are marked. And let's take a look at them without the balls and make sure that there's a straight line into that pocket. Okay, this one's off a little bit. Bear with me. Could have had this all set up, but a lot of times this helps out you guys to see how I go through this and see how accurate I want to be with this. Okay, that's pretty good right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the object ball in the center of the table, cue ball right there. We know that spot is going to be duplicated. Also helps me set this up. Part of making sure that I have a straight stroke, and you guys also should have a straight stroke, is to create a situation where you can repeat the process over and over to ingrain a muscle memory into your stroke. So I'm going to try to do just a couple stop shots right here. Why do I have this third paper reinforcement there? And I'll show you right now. The reason I've got that there is I'm now looking down the barrel of my cue, and I notice that my cue is right on that paper reinforcement. When I start to put more juice on the cue ball, like draw the cue ball, I will notice that my cue will be to the left, my left, of that paper reinforcement. So when I come through, I do this. I move. I'm going to exaggerate this right now so you guys can see it, but I move the cue inward. The reason for that, I found out, are twofold. One, actually threefold, because I was gripping the cue too tight, which is a problem. But number two is I was moving my wrist. I was not keeping it in one position. I was twisting my wrist and chicken winging. I was moving my elbow a little bit. So I want to try to keep my lever nice and straight and keep my wrists silent, because those two things will make that cue not go onto that paper reinforcement. So I wanted to cover that. Okay, now let's go ahead and set our ball back here in the center of the table on the paper reinforcement. Same thing with the cue ball. And now I want to shoot from a different camera angle to give you guys a better perspective of what this cue needs to look like when it gets over this reinforcement mark right here. So once again, we're going to do another little stop shot. Fundamentals are everything. Step into the shot. Make sure you got it lined up. And that's perfect. It's right over, or aiming right at, that paper reinforcement. Once again, let me cover this. I'll put a different ball out here. When I start to ramp up my shot, when I was talking to little Chris, he noticed that. When I start to really put juice on the cue ball, that's when my stroke kind of goes awry. So you guys might have that same thing, and I suspect that you do, because I see it during league play when someone tries to do a power shot. Often their fundamentals of their stroke break down. So I'm going to try to really focus on keeping a nice silent wrist, a good lever, and I'm going to try to draw the cue ball. It's not easy, guys, but if I keep doing this, and hopefully you guys as well keep doing this, this will help you create that muscle memory so that you're more consistent down the road. I'm going to use an open bridge once again so you guys can see the stick. I can use it closed. I actually like the open too because I can see down the barrel of the stick better, and it helps me align the shot. Even though it's straight in, it's not an easy shot. Looks like it's not on the paper reinforcement. Okay, there we go. I had to move the stick, but it was right at it. So that one was pretty good. And you can really tell that it was right at it because the cue ball came straight back, a little bit off. And that means when the cue ball comes off a little bit like that, that means that I cut the object ball to the right, just slightly. And that's not very much. To get it to be only that far off this alignment right there, that's pretty good. Okay, so that's another great way for you guys to work on keeping your stroke straight. Now, as I look at this video, because I can't tell when I shoot where my cue really was throughout that motion, was it wavering or whatever, I find out when I look at the video when I do these edits. And sometimes it bothers me because I thought I did a good job, but the tape doesn't lie. And of course, that's when I really get motivated to try to work harder at trying to fix the issue. Okay, now I'm going to give you a perspective from the side so you can take a look at my lever. and see if my fundamentals are sound with that stroke. Because we want to maintain a nice, we don't have any drop in our elbow. And I'm usually pretty good at that, but occasionally that will break down on me once again when I try to, juice the cue ball too much. Power stroke it. So, I've got this set up pretty straight. In fact, let's put that cue ball right on that center there. Okay, that looks pretty straight. Step into the line, and look at how loose my grip is. You see that? That's what I'm trying to do. Just hardly hold on to it. 2 fingers and a thumb, really. And I'm just going to do a little stop shot right here. I don't know if that elbow stayed up there or not. We're going to find out when we look at the video. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and try to do a little bit of a draw shot here. And let's see how that looks in terms of the elbow and if it's dropping. Once again, I'm always looking for a loose grip. This helps a lot in our draw stroke as well. Looks like that ball's a little bit off. Move it just a little. Try to draw it straight back here. I'm now going to use a closed bridge. Not bad, almost drew it right back into the pocket. That's the ultimate test. If we can do that consistently, we're making a good stroke there. Now, I want to say this. I didn't even think right there about my fundamentals, so I'm curious to know what this video is going to look like. Right there, I just went with a feel for that shot, just so that I could make the shot as well as get maximum draw, okay, with the stroke I was putting on the cue ball. Okay, now this is what the video is all about. This is the angle I really want to show you because you're going to be able to see my wrist position and the pendulum in my arm for my lever. So what I'm going to do here is just shoot that same straight in shot you just saw and watch closely at my wrist and see if I can hold it without moving it or without twisting it, okay? Without cupping it. I want to try to maintain the position of the wrist as well as the lever. I'm just going to do a stop shot. Once again, real loose fingers. You don't want to have a tight grip. We know that. I'm going to get that lined up a little bit better. Actually, that cue ball is a little bit off. That's better. Step into the shot. Stay low to the stick. And fire through. Cue ball moved a little bit. That means I cut the ball in. I was thinking more about the fundamentals than making the shot perfectly in the center of the pocket. Once again, the cue ball tells us a lot because when I hit it like that, that means that I cut this cue ball to the left side of the pocket. Let's see if we can get the cue ball to stay more center at this point. Shoot it again, same type of shot, just a quick little stroke for a nice stop shot, nice loose grip. Make sure you hit center cue ball, a little bit below center on the equator for a stop. Not bad. Now I'm looking at the paper reinforcement that the cue ball was on. My stick was a little bit to the left, my left. And that told me that I moved my stick inward a little bit. Maybe we'll see it on the video. I hope I can. Let's do it again. Oops. Another stop shot. And actually I let that roll ahead a little bit. I was focused more on the cue, and it did. It went right over the spot where my cue ball was. So that tells me that I stroked it straight. But now let's go ahead and put a little bit of draw. A little bit of draw. When I do that, that's when my stroke tends to want to break down. So I want to show you the good, bad, and the ugly. So hopefully I'm going to try to maintain the good, but let's see what happens in reality. A little draw now. You heard my cue, that ball down there? This whole housing table, this is the only pocket that it does that. It tried to bounce back out of the pocket. It has done that in the past. But anyway, look at that cue ball. It drew back pretty decent. I didn't try to really fire it in. I didn't try to put a ton of spin on it, but it came back pretty well. Let's do one more shot, and I think that should cover it. I'll try to do an open bridge this time. That's actually better. If I had a little more juice on it, it was right in. You know, people say that you really need to use a closed bridge when you do a draw shot. Maybe so on some draw shots, but you don't really have to. That was a medium shot, and I had no problem there. Maintaining that loose grip, I did not raise the cue. I didn't grab it and raise it up either. So that's critical. Anyway, today's video I think will be very helpful for a lot of players. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them in the comments section below and I'll answer everything. Thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time, like I always say, keep on practicing, keep a loose grip, straight elbow, no drop, as well as no cupping or moving the wrist in or outward during that stroke. Thanks again for watching, everyone.